to our topic of discussion for the day. We're looking at the issue of flooding, and of course, we look at the implication of climate change on flooding and food security in Nigeria. And of course, it's becoming a global issue now. As we'll expand our discussion and see how it's affecting global food security as well. I'm being joined in the studio by my guest, Dr. Chimere May Ohajinwa. He's an environmental toxicologist and a public health expert. Good morning. It's glad to have you on Business Daily.
Thank you.
Let's start from Maiduguri. We know there have been flooding all over the country in different states, but the Maiduguri one appeared to be so devastating. What came to your mind when you saw that?
Okay, so what came to my mind when I saw that was that this is a national embarrassment because it's highly preventable, and yet it happened. And it wasn't as if they didn't know it was going to happen, because it can't just happen suddenly like that. It could have been, giving some warning signs before it happened. So that was what came to my mind. I was like, oh Jesus, I just wish foreigners are not watching our TV.
Yes, there's nothing you can do about that, really. It's actually a global issue. The whole world saw what happened there. And of course, you are talking about the government not being proactive. In this case, probably what happened in terms of a response there is more like reaction than being proactive. But we heard that there were so many budget and plans towards preventing that, but eventually it did happen as well. But for my own concern really is some of these states that are being ravaged by flood right now are states that we call them the food basket of Nigeria. So what does this portend for food security in the country?
Okay, so it also means that we need to get ready, because when you have floods like that, it can start affecting our food reserves, agriculture, the animals can be dying, the agricultural land can be affected. So meaning that you could even move pollution, hazardous chemicals from wherever to the agricultural land, meaning that the food can be contaminated. It also means that the land can have a lot of salt, and so when you are done, it's not producing as it's supposed to produce. Animals can die in the process, and so it's something we really need to start.
Crops can be washed away.
Yes, and then you start having problems that you're not supposed to have, and then things are getting more expensive. So it means that we need to really sit down and start planning. What are the things causing what are the things causing this flooding we experience in Nigeria? Is it really climate change, or we are the ones not? Yes, because if the Maiduguri one is a very good one, the Alo Dam, that's not climate change. That's purely negligence. Then if you have the drainages blocked, that's not climate change. So there are things that we're also expected to do ourselves before we start blaming climate change. Yes, it's a nice one to put in, but then is it really what it is? So the things that are highly preventable, we should be able to prevent it. The things that are not preventable, then let's see what are the strategies, what are the plans, because we are still having it. It's as if the rain is even more now than before.
And there's also a warning from Lagdo Dam in Cameroon that very soon they'll start releasing water. And of course, we are the receiving end when all that happens.
Yes. So what are the plans, even if you're on the receiving end, what are the plans we put in place so that it doesn't become devastating, because they're going to do it anyway, and it's something they do every year. So it's not like it's a surprise. It's not an emergency anymore. So it's no longer an emergency. So what are the plans to prevent some of these things happening?
Yes. So now, with regards to issues, there is what we call, we're looking at the climate change issue now. There's an alteration in humidity. And these are some of the terminologies that we were told with those people like you that are experts in climate change. So things like this, and of course, what does it really portend for a country like Nigeria that is, trying to, agree with the global best practices?
I'm trying to get your question. What it means for us?
Yes, exactly. And we following the global best practices to prevent some of the issues that we are having with regards to climate change issues.
Yes, like I said, the major issues we have in Nigeria are not even really climate change like that. They are more of our own, our own they are very preventable. The flooding issues that we've had, they're even very preventable. So, but if you are following the global practices, yes, we're following the global practices or even the local best practices that can be better than the global practice, because not every time that you think whatever is in the other side is always better than the one that is in your own. So, what are the things we are doing that we can also implement anymore again and see how we can even make it better than? But if it's happening, yes, it's happening. But what is more of us this time around than whatever is? So assuming there's no global practice, what are we doing? Let's say
within our own space.
Yeah, within our own local space. So let's leave the global practice. Let's start with local practice first. And that's what I think. That's why I think we should even start looking at within, inward. What are we doing? What can we do better? Then we can look at what they are doing, then copy whatever is best, then put it in our own bowl. Right now, what are we doing locally? Our own local best practice first. So that let's not sound too far-fetched. Let's start from here.
Yeah,
but
indeed.
if you have anything like that, yes, because it's also like a vicious circle. Now we've had the floods, right? But also when it's drying up, what are the implications? Things can start. Like I said, chemicals are coming in. You don't know the kind of chemicals that can get into the ozone layer and then start causing another issues. Now you're having things that are decaying and they are releasing the methane that is also like a greenhouse gases that you're also releasing. So it becomes a vicious circle. So after we go through this, what else is going to likely happen? What, apart from the food, what are the implications of this flood that we've been exposed to that are obviously very preventable?
Indeed. Quite a whole lot of impact is going to happen. But I suppose, talking about post-flooding now, we're going to have it's going to have an impact on our infrastructure, obviously. I know in parts of Borno, Maiduguri and other places, the electricity sector is
businesses are
being devastated, and of course
infrastructures are
being destroyed. So So we'll talk about the health implication of all of these things in the course of this discussion. But my concern really is the implication on businesses. How would businesses be able to, build back?
Yeah.
Imagine what you have worked for and built for years,
and you just
got destroyed within within days or weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not going. You see that they would need some social safety net to survive. Governments might need to step in to help businesses come back, because remember, these businesses are employing people. So even if it's just business employing just himself and one more person, so that means 2 people are not out of job.
Absolutely.
They are now leaving their houses, are going to be living in one place in IDP camp. The social implication of that is another thing. It's been on the news. We don't even know whether there was some news that a girl was gang raped by people that came to bring food to them. So the social implication of that is even a different kettle of fish. And then you start talking about the economy. So to come back to start looking at the destruction, how much safety net, how much support are they going to get back from government to be able to bring back their business? And you might come back to business and might not even get customers anymore, because people that will buy from you don't have money to buy from you, or even when they have money to buy from you, might even have lost your reputation because maybe machineries are gone to come back. So the economic implication is really quite high, then apart from the social implication. So by the time you start looking at the social aspects, you don't even want to talk about it, because what is happening in the IDP camp, what is happening in wherever it is that they've moved to, whether legal or illegal IDP camp, but they have been displaced. So whatever is going on there is also is a different whole ball game that you don't even want to talk about. So of course, definitely it's going to have impacts on a lot of businesses. Their coming back is going to be not so easy. So there might be need for some social safety net for them to come back.
So in terms of, flooding is a global issue. I've seen the one in Philippines, places, in Miami, and so many other places as well. So there is according to SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals, it did say that the plan is actually to have zero hunger by 2030. All right. So having that zero hunger by 2030, the level of food insecurity in the world is already very high. with 720 million people to 811 million people, currently undernourished. I mean, it's very worrisome. About 2.2 billion people are affected by malnutrition. So, what is the implication of this on the larger global economy?
Okay. Malnutrition is something that is also has its own is a whole new terrain again. So if you are looking at malnutrition and a child is malnourished, that means they have issues trying to understand what's happening in school. There's an issue with IQ. So the impact is even long term. The impact is not even now. So we haven't even started seeing the impact in terms of if you're looking at the food security. So for us to focus on even provide food for ourselves, food security, food accessibility, food affordability, not just that the food is there, but can you afford it? The food is there, can you access it? So now with this flooding, so assuming there is food on the other side, but the flood has blocked the road, you can't even bring the food to people that can have access to the food. So even if we have food, but we cannot access the food, and then when you finally access it, you cannot afford it. So if you are saying yes, does it have impact on malnutrition? Of course it does. If you don't have enough food, you're going to start having issues with malnutrition, and the impact of malnutrition is even a long-term issue that you can't even see. So apart from the normal carbohydrates, fats and oil, there are also issues with the micronutrients when you're not having the vitamins and the minerals you're supposed to have, and those things have impact on your IQ, on your long-term health, that you've not even started scratching the surface if you're not taking care of it. So what about the children? What about children that are dependent on their mother? What about children that are dependent on the mother and they're not eating? How are they supposed to be? Yes, of course, the food security has a lot of impact on malnutrition. And then not only that you're looking at the malnutrition, you're also looking at the safety. So if food is available, you can afford it, but is it safe? Is it contaminated? Is it that you finish eating it, then you have diarrhea, or if you finish eating it, then 10 years down the line you have cancer because it's been contaminated by one pollution, one chemical, or one whatever. So you see why the whole system needs to work together to make sure that everything works well. So you can't just say, waste management, I don't care. You don't even know what is in the waste, and then we are all eating. So it's not just so when you talk about the food security, you have to look at the whole chain. You're looking at affordability, accessibility, is it even safe, how is it handled, so they don't end up having something that I didn't plan for.
Indeed. The health implication is even more based on what you're saying. We'll be talking about that, and of course the kind of burden that is going to put on the pulse of both states and indeed the federal government. There have been fear already about the possible outbreak of cholera from all of these things that is going to happen.
It's already happening. And Adamawa just recorded 10 people died in Adamawa. Yesterday was 10 people died from, they call it diarrhea. So, like I said, it's food safety. Yes, I have the food, but is it safe?
Indeed. So now, what should we do to prevent all this from happening? Already, there's a warning already. The flooding has happened, and of course, we know the implication is going to be magnitude. We've talked about the economic implication. We're talking about so many other things that to cause to the economy, and of course, the health implication is even more, because if you talk about the water and even the farmlands be contaminated, all of these things are something that humans will eventually end up consuming. So what does it mean to our health?
Oh, okay. So you mentioned some of them. So when you have floods, there are a lot of things we're not even looking at when you have flooding. Remember, we are not having central sewage system. We have hospitals. Some of these hospitals they are treating cancer patients. They are using heavy toxic chemicals for treatment. And then each house have their own sockaway. It's just in few places that we have central sewage system, like in Abuja now, the central. If you're outside Abuja, the outskirts, it's not central. Everybody have their own sockaway system. So now, you're looking at a place like Maiduguri, Adamawa, these places that are experiencing flood. So assuming everybody have their own sockaway system, and then there's flood. And then the whole thing is flowing and flowing to the streets. And then we go through the poultry, through the where they have the cow, the goat, and it's flowing, carrying all the animals, and then we are just having it. Then to go through the companies, the industries that are releasing chemicals, don't even know what they are producing, pharmaceuticals, everything is washing and then it's going. there's going to be some contamination in our waterways, and we're all drinking the water. Remember, most of us are now drinking borehole. So the implication is really is really wide. So it can contaminate our water, our food, the air. So when you have diseases that are contagious, you can even transfer to somebody else without you drinking the water or drinking the food or eating the food. The cholera is there, the diarrhea is there, and so many other diseases that you're not even seeing right now that might even start manifesting later. That will also take you a long time to be able to pinpoint that this is actually the source of this problem, but it takes a while for you to pinpoint it. Then before you pinpoint it, a lot of things will have happened, right? We are looking at humans. We've never started looking at animals that we are eating. So what if whatever it is that is not happening to humans, but is happening to animals? Then when we eat the animals, 1 month, 2 months down the line, you are transferring that same thing to humans. So it's really wide. So one thing is prevention should be the most important thing. And so there are the instances where government is releasing early warning signs. You see NIMET releasing it, telling you, oh, there is this, get ready, you have to move, you can't do this, there's going to be a lot of rain. So we need to start listening. So the disaster preparedness, both at the state level and the federal level, there's a lot of disaster preparedness. So even as you are building the infrastructure, you are building it to be resilient to such things. You are building it with plans that something like this is going to happen. So if you're having waste management, you are planning it because now the cities are growing, people are moving. So you cannot just, when you made a plan for 3 million people, now the city is 5 million people. So what's the plan for the 5 million people? So it cannot just remain. So those kind of preparedness help us to be able to tackle it. And then of course a lot of advocacy, like what we are doing now, letting people to know this is important. Even though you think it's not in my backyard, it could be affecting somebody that is close to you.
Absolutely.
Yes. So those kind of things that we are getting ready to know that something like this exists is important.
Now, talking about planning now, you talked about the NIMET warning signs.
Yes.
You talk about a whole lot of issues now with regards to planning. And then talking about planning, we have we've had issues even in the FCT here. There's a famous estate in Abuja here. They usually get flooded every year, and they've been issued different notice for them to vacate the waterways that they are occupying, but yet I don't think they've been able to comply with those whatever. They've not unable to comply with those directives as we speak now. So who do we blame in this kind of situation?
For me, I will blame government because they didn't just build that house. They got permission, licenses, approvals before they started. So for me, I think government should take the bulk of the responsibility. So if you're asking them to move, you provide an alternative for them because somebody signed it, somebody gave the approval. They didn't just build. So instances where it will not just be people that build the house that will be punished. Whoever approved this should also get some level of punishment so that subsequently people will not approve things like that, because a lot of them could have bought it not knowing that will happen. So not complying could be because there is no alternative, there is no other place to go to. So it might not be that I don't want to comply. It might be because there is no plan B anywhere to move. So maybe there could be plans to provide an alternative for them. Another thing is also that when they talk about planting trees, when you're having all this flooding, you also are causing erosion. In the southeast you have more of erosion that is not just the flooding. One thing is the trees help to hold the soil together. It doesn't just erode easily like that. It's to help to hold it together. So like I said, you are planning, you're making sure the plans for the drinking water is there, the plans for the waste treatment, both solid waste treatment and liquid waste treatment is there. So we are not just disposing our waste anyhow that we want. So even though all these sectors look as if they're in silo, they are all connected, because when it starts affecting, we don't know that the contamination is coming from one hospital where they are treating cancer patients, and then it's affecting somebody that is in one village because the river has flown from that place to one village in Buhari, and then it ended up drinking the water that ended up in Kaduna, and then for you to even find where it happened, it takes a long time. Yes, so is the planning that even though the sectors look as if they are standing in silos, they are all connected.
Indeed, all the sectors are indeed connected. But there is one particular country I always make reference to in terms of when it comes to managing flood. That is the Netherlands. Most 70% of Netherlands is underwater, but yet they don't experience flood.
Yes.
What do you think we should learn from countries like that? Don't you think with the kind of vulnerability now that we have been exposed to because of the two major rivers that have cut across through Nigeria, the river Niger, the river Benue, and of course some dams around us, that whenever there is a release of water from those dams, the consequences come down to this part of Africa. Don't you think we should in a way try to learn something from Netherlands that can help us prevent these yearly occurrences?
We can learn. Okay, so I lived in the Netherlands, so I can also tell you, yes, bulk of the country is underwater, but they don't have flood. But it's also because there is high maintenance culture. There is dike system. They build the dike. So, like in the Netherlands, you see all the streets tend to have the canals moving. So there's a lot. Anytime you go to the Netherlands, there is always a maintenance work going on. So those kind of things that you are having, the advanced technology they are employing, they are always sucking out water. They're not even allowing it. So there are a lot of things that technology that are available. So it's not as if you need to go and learn something. These are things that are almost like everywhere if you really want to implement them. So it's not as if it's one rocket science, then you have to travel, then you bring them, and they will, no. The technology seems like that.
Available?
Yes, they're available, and Nigerians are very educated. We are a lot exposed to some of these things. A lot of us have lived in different countries, worked in different countries, so we know. So it's not like it's one, we need to travel to the Netherlands. No, it's not like that. Yes. So I think it's more of the maintenance culture, knowing what works for that system, apply those technology to make sure that these things are working. So one of the things they do in the Netherlands a lot is using the canal system and the dikes to make sure that these things don't overflow, and in fact, as a matter of fact, they make a lot of money from from that instead of it becoming
instead of when they see the opportunities.
Yes, they are selling wind to other people, that kind of a thing. Yes, they're even making money from it. It's not like you're causing problem. And this place we don't even have sun. You have 7 months of the year, you don't have sun. You only have sun for three months, and then everything is like and
it's gone.
Yes.
Well, I think it still boils down to planning with what you said. We always get this warning signal from NIMED almost every year. I think NIMED, they are doing their job, if you ask me. But I think the responses from the government and of course
interpretation, the people, what does it really mean?
Exactly, to prevent it. I think that is the problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Now there's still warning again that 21 or 22 states of Nigeria is going to be experiencing flood again in the coming month. The Lado Dam releasing water, and of course the rainfall that is expected to last till the end of November. Of course, some states like Kogi State already, the government is making plan to relocate about 250,000 people from waterways. How they are going to do that, I don't know. But I don't know, how do you think that we should handle all these plans? Should we centralize the plan, or every state should be able to address their issues within their domain?
I think when it comes to flooding, the implications are always also geographical. Some people are on highlands, some people are on lowlands. So yes, the states have the money. They should. I think even though federal is doing their own preparedness, the states should also have their own preparedness because they understand their locality better. So if you are just looking at Kogi State is very central because the food will pass through that place to get to other parts of Nigeria. So meaning that if you can't pass through that local jam whenever it's flooded, everything is expensive, including cooking gas. Because the cooking gas is going to pass through the place to get to Abuja. That means cooking gas the cost will increase, the cost of food will increase, and all that. So the impact is not just Kogi State and people living in waterline, because it's a yearly occurrence. It's almost like the people even want to live there so that they will come out on the street with their properties and then be begging, and you're wondering what is this. It's almost like a yearly occurrence. We see it every year. If you have any reason to travel on that road, you see people on the road with their properties on the road, and you're like wondering. But it happened last year.
Yeah, it happened last year. It happened
the year before. So what is all this joke? So sometimes we need to really, let's say, it's a mindset thing. Like It's like you need to look like a victim to get more money, so therefore you have to do it again and again. So it begins to look funny.
I think those living along the bank of River Niger are actually vulnerable, because whenever there's flood,
it affects them.
It affects them.
Yeah, but they get early warning signs. They know it's coming.
Exactly. But again, I think the past government have not really been proactive in addressing this. But with the news coming out that the government is already planning to evacuate, it's one thing to plan. It's another thing to actually implement.
That would be beautiful to because sometimes when these things happen, in my mind I'll be like, oh God, I just wish these Igbo people are not watching our TV. So, but yeah, because sometimes those things could have been prevented. So it's a good thing that the government is taking proactive measures to relocate people that are on that line, so that, yes, that would be very nice.
Indeed. Well, as we wrap up now, let's see how we can talk about the implication of all this on education. Many schools,
implication of what?
Implication of this flooding now on education. Many schools have had to postpone resumption. Many states have had to postpone resumption because of flood. Many schools have been shut, not just in Nigeria, in Kenya, in Uganda, in so many other places. What consequences do you think this will have on education, especially the primary, secondary education in Nigeria?
Okay, when they finish, I think they will come back. They will come back. There will be, when they come back, there will be physical damage to the structure. So that means another cost on government to start rebuilding, repairing things that are spoiled. So it's not just that there's immediate destruction, but also that could be a long time. So when they come back, would they still have classrooms to come back to? Books are going to be destroyed. So the impact is quite enormous on education as well. That they might end up not having classrooms anymore. They might end up not having books anymore. That means you have to start looking for money to buy books, to do this, to do that, and do that. So yes, it has an impact, but again, that's where the planning comes in. What can we do to even prevent it in the first place? How can we get that alerted? And if there are schools that have been experiencing it over the years, what are the plans so that even when they finish having the flood and you come back, at least you can start from where you stopped, instead of having it, having to say, okay, fine, there's no more flooding, but we don't have classroom. There's no more flooding, but all the materials, the educational materials are lost. The chairs are lost. Of course, teacher will not come to school again. Then for you to start looking for replacement, that will cost a lot. So yes, there's impact on it, but we can also plan to prevent some of those things from happening.
Well, it's still planning. Everything is actually boils down.
Yes, so you can see how all the sectors are connected. And also carrying out
the plans. You can actually plan without, execution.
Yes.
I think that is also part of the problem that we are facing in Nigeria.
So it's not that they don't challenges of having access to education, but then you see how long it even takes for you to come back to education again. So even the one that they're going to release from Cameroon. So if you start now to plan so that when we finish the flooding, we can come back. You just looked at the education. What about hospitals? What if the hospitals are flooded? What's going to happen?
Like we saw in Maiduguri.
Yes, they're not even looking at what I was looking at. I wasn't looking at the waste coming out from the hospitals. Those infectious waste are just flowing like that. So people are putting their legs. So after this, are they going to start having skin diseases? Are they going to start having something that you don't know the name, or what exactly is going to happen? Is it going to be an infectious disease? How many children are going to be dying because of this exposure? So you can see that all of them they look different, but they are very, connected. Connected,
indeed. I must thank you, Dr. Chimere May Ohajinwa, environmental toxicologist, public health expert, and of course, a lead consultant at Sea Cycle Research. I must thank you for your time on Business Daily today. With that is a wrap on the show today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Yusuf Akugu.